they are constantly, dynamically adapting, adjusting these strategies in real time.
You plan to do something, some of it works, some of it just gets lost because the world changes.
Customer centricity is another powerful attribute of absorption.
And learning would be the agility.
They're what you would call listening organizations, learning organizations, and bottom-up organizations.
I'm Nick Binedell, and we're here under the umbrella of Fate, Luck and Choice as a way to think about business and life. And with me is Adrian Saville.
Thanks, Nick. Maybe I can be cheesy and say I'm lucky to be here with you.
I thought
you my choice.
That's what I was going to say. Welcome.
Adrian Saville, I'm Professor in Economics, Finance and Strategy at GIBS, and this is Conversation with Nick Binedell in our series Fate, Luck and Choice.
So we've been talking about chickens and eggs, and now we're coming to the egg.
Yeah.
Our first podcast was about chickens. Countries have to have the right kind of attributes to produce lots of eggs. Now we're down to corporate success and the attributes of winners, as I understand it.
Yeah. So in that earlier conversation, we discussed the importance of the country contribution to your company performance. However, whilst country plays an inordinately large role in company performance, a second conversation we had was that some companies are able to pull away from their economic and industrial gravity. We spoke about Michael Rayner's work. I've been involved in a different study that is adjacent to that, studying 20,000 companies over 40 years. And we find in these businesses common attributes. So how do your chickens lay magnificent eggs? And this acknowledges or recognizes that a large part of the environmental circumstance that you're operating in is given to you. That's your fate. Now, the choices that you make inside of that circumstance change the direction of travel for companies. So I think that speaks directly to the heart of this conversation. And in making that observation, I'm reminded of Robert Falcon Scott, Captain Robert Falcon Scott.
Indeed.
If your middle name
the
is
late
Falcon,
and frozen Captain Robert Scott.
Frozen. If your middle name is Falcon, you
got to fly somewhere.
You got to be up to big things. And what I'm referencing is his South Pole expedition more than 100 years ago. He was racing with Roald Amundsen to be the first person to achieve the South Pole. And it's worth reading directly from Scott's journal, where on the 5th of December, he writes this: "Our luck in weather is preposterous. The conditions are simply horrible. One cannot see the next tent, let alone the land. What on earth does this mean at this time of year? It is more than our share of ill fortune, but the luck may yet turn." Now, Amundsen is dealt the exact same hand, and Amundsen isn't writing about luck. Amundsen instead is doing the 20-mile march. Every single day, regardless of the weather conditions, him and his team are doing 20 miles. So, to overdo this reference to luck and choice, Scott is putting it down to bad luck. Amundsen is saying, that's the hand we've been dealt. We're getting on with it.
And do you think there were two logics at work then that were very different? Because Scott dies heroically, becomes a Victorian legend. I always remember his last entry in his diary. And Amundsen, from what I read about him, was a very more disciplined, mechanical kind of guy, is what we're describing.
Yeah. So Amundsen gets to the South Pole well in advance of Scott. He gets his team back to safety. When they've achieved the South Pole, I don't think that he's trying to do this in some sort of grand, arrogant display. But his preparedness for this journey, he was prepared for an incredibly fierce journey. The last
was he better resourced?
He was better resourced, and he was better resourced because he had built a team or a business. To speak to the executives who are listening in on this conversation, he had built a team that was fit for purpose. They had gone and spent time at the North Pole, learning what type of clothing people wear. not woolen clothing that's sits close on your skin and keeps you warm, because when you sweat, that freezes on your skin.
Yeah, the air pockets.
In fact, loose fitting
is better.
His team skis. Scott's team takes horses. And the horses are not so good at the summer.
And Amundsen had dogs, is that right?
Amundsen had dogs. It turns out to be some fairly gruesome stuff.
Sure.
Not for the weak stomach.
Yeah, not before lunch. But I once met a polar explorer here in Joburg who told me that what they did was like walking from here to Cape Town with a compass looking for a tree.
Yeah.
That's how extraordinary the feat was. Anyway, incredible thing.
So to go to...
so what does that mean? Yeah.
Well, let's go back just to, your question about, was this about mindset? Absolutely. Mindset played a very large part in it. But it's not just a throwaway example. Rather, in studying the performance of companies, businesses that are able to pull away from their economic circumstance, that can find the tree on their way to Cape Town. What are the attributes of those businesses? And just to make, to underline the importance of finding those attributes, businesses that are pulled down into their economic and industrial circumstances, their life expectancies are short, their return on invested capital are short, and they will more often than not be pointing to external circumstances to explain how tough their conditions are. Those that are able to deliver exceptional stuff, notwithstanding the circumstances, I'm interested in their attributes.
Right. And what have you found out about those?
Well, the attributes belong in two broad categories that we can call agility and absorption. What I really like in
this was the work of Gary Hamel.
Exactly.
So it comes from the boxing.
Exactly. So these attributes of agility and absorption is we spoke in another conversation, about was this just how are you able to deal with changing circumstances? So not only do these attributes endure, they carry across time barriers, they carry across geographies, and they carry across industrial barriers and boundaries. So what do we find? And I think what's especially striking in this is some of the attributes are unusual. For instance, lazy balance sheets, to the horror of accountants. You want lazy balance sheets.
Because it gives you what organizational theorists call slack.
Yes.
Gives you fat, a bit of fat.
And it allows you to behave countercyclically.
Right.
When everyone is frantically selling in a depressed market, you've arrived with your lazy balance sheet and you can set prices and you can be buying.
Although too much lazy fat and you have heart attack. So it's a certain amount. It's not skin and bone.
Sure.
And, just to inject here, I worked in Barlow's in the 80s when it was skin and bone. Accountants ran the whole business, all about the numbers. No, not much imagination about the future. So there's some subtle things going on here. I'm sure we'll come to.
Yeah.
So the right kind of balance sheet.
Other attributes, and let's go to our South Pole expedition explorers. They're what you would call listening organizations, learning organizations, and bottom-up organizations. Right. Amundsen, as a listening organization, Amundsen is talking constantly to his team, asking them, how are you feeling? What are you missing from home? Tell me about your children. Like this deep, authentic interest in the well-being of his team. But it's not only that culture of engaged, invested interest. He's also asking his team, what am I not seeing? What am I missing? What are you seeing that I'm blind to?
Yeah.
And the learning organization, each day, digesting, reflecting, contemplative.
The Americans call it after-battle review. Yeah. What happened?
Well, I mean, this might even be in-battle review.
That's what, well, if you're lucky, it's in battle. It's very hard to, when you're being shot at, to pay attention to the piece. But still, it is this after-action review that they build into all encounters. So we plan to do, we're prepared for, we plan to do, what happened? And Henry Mintzberg did a lot of research on plans that don't happen.
Yeah.
And he said what happens is you plan to do something, some of it works, some of it just gets lost because the world changes, some of it is emergent, and what actually happens is a mixer of what you plan and what you discover along the way.
And that speaks directly to a further attribute of these businesses, and just to emphasize the way that we arrive at the study of businesses is we use Michael Rayner's work, 20,000 companies over 50 years, 147 businesses are established as being able to produce a return on invested capital way above their weighted average cost of capital. And then in our study, 20,000 companies over 40 years producing the exact same thing, a ROIC way above the WACC. And then going and rolling up our sleeves and digging into those businesses and asking about their attributes. Now, to go to your Mintzberg point, whilst they have plans and strategies, they are constantly dynamically adapting, adjusting these strategies in real time.
Yeah. So what other, you talked about absorption from the boxing analogy of, it was, I can't remember who
Ali
against.
the rumble in the jungle
But who was
against George Foreman.
Foreman.
Yeah.
So
Going
Foreman,
against the ropes.
right, Foreman was the absorber.
Yeah.
And Ali was the
Other way
agile.
around. Ali was the absorber. Ali was taking
then the
Foreman's
end of
big
his career.
punches. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the great piece by Hamill. What is absorption?
So absorption, we've referred to it in part already by the lazy balance sheet.
Right.
Customer centricity is another powerful attribute of absorption.
And learning would be the agility.
Learning would be the agility. Innovation in the firm. Adjusting your plans, your strategic plans in real time.
Right.
Or examples of agility. Maybe another piece of evidence around absorption. We've spoken about the role that country plays in shaping company performance, but there's another layer here, and it's the community that you're working in, and where your company and community are inextricably intertwined. You've got another layer.
What do you mean by community?
So what I mean by community, it's not vegetable gardens and painting schools. What I mean by this is these are businesses that are deeply invested in a purpose.
Okay.
That there is an intent.
Right.
That they are, through their operations and organizations, leaving the places that they're working in better shape.
Okay. And then, of course, there's another angle, which is by community, we mean the institutions around them that they're embedded in, the society around them, the license to operate, and the connection with a market or society itself, I suppose.
Agreed. And can we do one last thing?
Sure.
While we've got chickens and eggs involved in this conversation, it's our story about the pig and the chicken.
Right.
That the community, your workforce, the people who are in battle with you are fully invested in the engagement, in the purpose and the commitment of your organization.
The board is involved, but the workers that... I think one of the features of South African companies is we really haven't measured the commitment and loyalty of the frontline of our workforce. I'm always astonished if I talk to frontline people how long they've worked there. Extraordinarily loyal, and I don't think we spend, and maybe we'll come to this another time, we don't spend enough time engaging with and making sure that they're part of the purpose and they understand the business in its technocratic, financial, market, product aspects. We still, I think, have a very old-fashioned approach to managing employees.
And here's my closing thought on true commitment and engagement in the purpose of the company. When JFK goes to visit NASA and meets the janitor and asks the janitor,
right, what are we doing?
What's his role? He's I'm part of the team that's being a person.
Man. Yeah. Doubly motivated by the fact the Russians have gone to space first. I look forward to pursuing this with you. Thanks, Adrian.
Great, Nick.